Hello, Stickers and Scuffs, friends and family. We are so happy to welcome in our I think this might be our first Qwick Fire Starter Super Stock Series. Well, that's a long name. Series driver. Now, you're going to have to help me because I've heard two different pronunciations and I don't want to butcher it. So, Gerrit Tiemersma or Tiemersma?
The first one's right, man. You actually got it on the first try, buddy.
There we go. There we go. I've heard it.
I used to always say 10 out of 10 people mispronounce my name the first try. You're the 1 out of 10 now.
Well, hearing
Nice.
hearing Greg and Adam and Clinton all call you different names does make it questionable when you have to try and do it yourself.
Oh yeah.
But one of the things that we got to do this year is we got to actually go to the racetracks, and we actually got to see Super Stocks in person. And that's we're going to ask you a really tough question, Gerrit, because there are probably some people here who aren't aware what the Super Stock series is. So, what is a Super Stock?
Well, a Super Stock is sort of an entry-level 8-cylinder car in oval racing. However, the Qwick Super Stock series is not for entry-level Super Stock drivers. The Qwick series is a division that kind of came up in 2021 for all the Super Stocks in Ontario who are interested in traveling and coming together in a more professional and serious competition. And this kind of materialized also because of the United Racing Series involvement with G-Force TV, and the Qwick Racing Series was born.
So your car, what's its history?
My car itself,
Yeah.
A lot of guys would probably laugh when I told them that my car is older than me. It's it's an early 1990s frame by a guy that has retired from building cars 15 years ago, and it was bounced around as a limited late model through quite a few owners. And then my sponsor, Ian Bork from Bork Transmission, knew that we were going Super Stock racing, and he sold it to us, and then we had it converted into a Super Stock, which was just about changing some rear end suspension parts, engine, etc. There's a long list of details there, but it kind of went through a few hands, so it's got some laps on it, that's for sure.
That's awesome, Gerrit. For the record, my name being Graydon, that's probably the most common name I get called other than my own, so kind of an honorary Gerrit here. Your family is no stranger to racing. So when you're talking about engine swaps and adapting cars over to different series and stuff, that's nothing new to you guys. Tell us a little bit about your family history in racing, Gerrit.
You know what? My family history in racing kind of actually ended about 5-6 years ago. And I, myself and my cousin are the only ones really keeping it going right now. But it really started with my uncle and my dad. I don't know, when they were in their early 20s, and they were going out to Sunset Speedway, I think when it was around back then. They participated in enduro races, and naturally that led into them joining the starter division back then, which I think was Thundercar. And just they spent most of their years racing as well, a good part of 15 to 20 years between the two of them. My uncle even went for 30 by the time he quit, traveled around Ontario and lots of different stuff. And you know what? They both kind of moved on now. But my dad still comes around the racetrack, as he is the main crew chief for our team. And that's how he kind of stays involved.
Well, I mean, CASCAR fans would remember your dad, I believe. Is your dad's Derek, correct?
My dad is actually Steve.
Steve. Yeah. So Derek was your uncle.
Yeah.
And ran CASCAR in the 67. So where did the 17 come from? Is it just a big Are you just a big Matt Kenseth fan?
Well, when I was a kid, I was a big Matt Kenseth fan, and that's kind of just the number that I picked. But 17 kind of became my own brand as well when I recognized that 7 was in almost every Tiemersma number throughout the years. So I just kind of stuck with it. But yeah, it started out as a Matt Kenseth thing.
I mean, it kind of works. I mean, one of the things that we've kind of seen, even with Derek's car, is that the checkered flag on the bottom, which I mean, it's cool because it's unique that you guys kind of ran similar schemes so many years apart. Again, was it part of a family decision to make that paint scheme the way it was?
You know what? I kind of wanted to use it because, well, honestly, I saw it on the shelf and it kind of brought some memories back. But it was also a little bit of a tribute and a reminder to Wave Freight, and they had come out to support us. And it was a little bit of a throwback to one of their championship year schemes.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's a nod to the history, and you're kind of picking up and taking it and making it your own now as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have a great deal of laps and everything and success at Sunset Speedway. So this moving to the Qwick series, where it's a bit of a touring series, was a bit of an adjustment. I would think a bit, eh?
Oh yeah. I mean, this year I think I ran 11 races in total. That must be the max. I mean, I skipped quite a few weekends just because of stuff. I had an injury and some other stuff happened throughout the summer, and but it felt like we must have ran 20 because I don't think we went to the same track twice in a row. Like, it was always coming home and changing gears and changing springs in the back and changing shocks and changing body panels and changing parts that were breaking because we were going to different places and they all had different demands, and it just became a heck of a maintenance program to try and keep up with all the traveling. But I will say it was probably the most fun I've ever had racing, because I was always faced with new tracks and different challenges, and it also was about seeing different people every week too.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be it.
You answered a lot of my questions very well there, but like you said, the adjustment of having to turn the car around week to week and not going back to the same place where you're changing setups and stuff, that had to be an animal to learn all in itself.
And you know what? We went to a couple tracks this year where I've been, like, Delaware was my first time ever visiting that place, because it's quite a drive and quite a haul for us to go there. And honestly, you know what? It's just too hard for me to do it every week. So sure. the two races I went there this year were the only times I ever stepped on Delaware's property. And that's why when we came home third at the end of the year, I was so pumped, because
no doubt
that was the first race I had ever finished there. And we came home top 3, and just gave me a buttload of confidence to come back next year, because I want to come see that new paved surface. And like another place too, Peterborough, we hadn't been there in years, because I always get wrecked on colors. It just always seems to happen. So we choose to skip it because for some reason I've got a curse on me there now. And we went there this year for the first time in 3 years and finished third. So
nice.
There were a couple tracks that we haven't been to in a very long time, and we did really well. So next year it just gives me more confidence to possibly go for a championship. You know, I'm already looking forward to next year. Forget about 2021. I'm already on 2022.
Oh man, we're exactly the same. Like the off season for us is brutal, and we're not fully off season yet. There's still some racing that's happening down south, but you know, one of the things that we really were able to tout is the Super Stock Series. We love the NASCAR Penny Series. We love APC Series.
Yeah,
but one of the hidden gems in Ontario is the Super Stock Series.
Oh yeah.
It is something that people just, I think they're sleeping on. That the competition across even just the weekly Super Stocks races at certain tracks is phenomenal. And then you get to see some of these names like Trevor Culver. You get to see Frank Davey. Peterborough guy,
Yeah.
Todd Davenport. These cars, some of these cars we've seen on track for years that are coming into participating in this series along with you. You're up there battling with the guys like Lane Zardo, who ended up winning the championships this year. And it wasn't a blowout. It was down to what, 1, 2, 3 points by the end of the
Like
season.
that, yeah.
And
burner.
it was not from like first to second. It was first to like fifth.
Oh yeah.
So we've got to talk about your competitors in this series. Who is that one that you just can't wait to beat?
Lane. Everybody knows it's Lane and 36 car.
Yeah,
I don't
the man to beat.
Every week, man. It seemed like I started fifth, he started sixth. He started fourth, I started fifth. It didn't matter. We were starting beside each other, and he would always come out on top. And it pissed me off by the end of the year. There's a reason why I'm getting hyped up about next year, because I want to go win, man.
Well, you were able to sneak out a victory this year. Well, tell us about that experience, because that obviously, I mean, wins are hard to come by in this series.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
We opened up the year with a win at Flamborough, and that really set the tone for me, because I wanted to go out and make a statement that I wanted to win and that I was there to be Qwick. And it was really important to me to do it on my sponsor's home turf. And we went out and did that. And Flamborough's always been a good place to me. So when we came to Flamborough in the middle of the summer for the Qwick race, my sponsor came out again, and this was right after a really bad spell in the middle of the summer where we just had a bunch of bad finishes, and I needed something to turn around. And whenever I go to Flamborough, I expect to win. I've got a really good record there, and I was just able to pull it off. And it was because we went 50 laps, green flag, and I think 40 of them we had 36 on our bumper, and like that was a big win and big momentum shift for us. And it just kind of reassured us that we could do this. But the end of the year, we had some bad luck. We had some bad spins, some bad decisions on my part. But you live and you learn. And I know we have the speed next year to come back if I just keep my head under control.
You've kind of alluded to it in some of these answers that you've given us, Gerrit, and it's something that I like to ask a lot of drivers. And being a young guy like yourself, who you're getting your feet wet in touring and that sort of thing, the mental game of it, the grinding aspect, like when you say you have like a string of those bad finishes, it's probably pretty easy to get down on yourself and like racing. First and foremost, I think it's supposed to be fun, but at the same time, it is when you're at work, and when you have a bad day at work, you're not going to get out and smile about it. So talk about a little bit about what it's like going through those little slumps, and then what it feels like to get back after a good run.
You know what? I used to be the worst for it. I used to be the guy who, if I didn't finish in the top 5, I wasn't, it was going to suck on the car ride home, You didn't want to be beside me. And this year, I kind of realized that it was more about having fun with the friends that come out with you and the people that you do it with. And I wanted to win more than anything, but it became more about even if I finished 5th out there and 6th out there and I'm unhappy with where I finished, they came out and they had fun because they were here to help me. And that's what I had to kind of put forward and put my own feelings aside and deal with them later. And I would deal with them later, but that was usually when we got home and we rewatched a race and said, okay, I can't do this again, but this is the last time we're going to talk about it. And it's time to move on because we have a race next week and we have to get the car ready tomorrow.
And that's like a lot of your fans and supporters. I mean, that's why the butts are in the seats for you and supporting you, is because of your refuse to lose mentality, which, I mean, you're finding the balance. I mean, you got to have that refuse to lose mentality if you want to go out there and be hungry for it. But at the same time, you got to look forward when the race is over too.
Exactly. And it's, I let the bad slump get to me, and I lost some gray hairs this year. You know, I got stressed.
Yeah.
But I also would say I had the most fun that I've ever had. And
Nice.
I think I just have to live with the stress because I think I'm more hyped to do it again. And I realized the type of commitment it also takes now, because I didn't realize what it really took to take a championship speed winning car and actually get the job done. You know, I had the speed, I just didn't have the mental capacity to do it.
Well, it's something
Man, that's big of you to admit that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's most people wouldn't probably admit that, and that's, I think, it's so important because we've had this conversation quite a bit with competitors and how easy it is to get into that slump, and then especially when things don't get better and it's just like one thing after another. And as we've seen in the Superstock series, there is a lot of attrition. There's a lot of contact, and there can be a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of, I would say, you know, a lot more of post-race activities.
You have to be willing. You have to be willing to get your feelings hurt, but you also have to be able to accept it. You know, if you're gonna take it, if you're gonna give it out, you have to be able to take it. And I did a little bit of both, but you also have to be smart about it, and you have to really pick your battles. You know, to win a championship, it's a long year, and
it's like being married.
Let it go sometimes. You know?
Yeah, it's great. It is like being married, because I definitely know about that, right?
From my standpoint, that's how I would say it. That's how I relate to it.
Jessica, don't watch this episode. What's the biggest challenge, Gerrit, as a up and coming driver? Obviously, we can go out and say financial sponsorship is difficult. You've got some really committed partners.
Yeah, that's always the problem. But realistically, I mean, I can't say my lack of experience because I've been in this division for 5 years. There is no lack of experience, but it's about, I guess, trying to manage my time and trying to manage my priorities with it. Because in order to run a championship winning team, there's a lot of things that have to go in behind the scene. But as I was going to say, you know, financially, there's also another list of things that go into it with that as well. So you really have to have your things in place for the entire year, and you can't do it off of a whim. You know, you have to be a few weeks ahead. Every week when we buy our tires, we're buying tires for 4 weeks from now. We already have our set for next week at home, and then set for the week after laying in the storage room, because we're getting ready for it. And you have to be prepped and planning ahead. And there's just a whole lot of things that go into it. And to really put any one thing that's difficult as an up-and-coming driver, it's just managing all the tasks. And it's just, I'd suggest it's impossible to do on your own, which is why I'm extremely grateful for the couple friends who helped me out, and my crew, and obviously my dad being my main crew chief.
That's, I mean, something that when we're talking about having fun and racing being fun, it is a business really though too, like where you do have to worry about having kind of the table set for next week in terms of tires and having your parts ready and all that sort of stuff as you're turning the car around. That's kind of a neat peek behind the scenes that fans probably don't always think about, especially when you're making the leap to a touring series.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's touring series, you kind of have to worry about different size tires for different places, because they have different gear requirements or different.
You can get a flat tire on your trailer.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, you know, this is in order to be a championship team. What if you have a flat tire? You can't have a tire that's a different size on the car, because then you're going to be slow. So you got to have a spare set every week that's exactly the same. And it's not just about putting 4 tires on the car. It's about bringing 12 tires, enough gas, and spare everything, because you never know what can break. You know, I had broke 4 transmissions this year. Never have I ever thought I would ever break 4 transmissions in the last calendar year, but somehow we did it. We always bring a spare transmission, because you never know if that thing might break again.
It's absolutely true. And, Garrett, as with a lot of young drivers, there's always aspirations. In Ontario, there's a lot of paths that you can take. Obviously, Super Stocks is where you're at right now. I think we've kind of chatted a little bit on social media about where maybe you see yourself potentially in the future. But I want you to take this opportunity as a young guy talking to sponsors. What is it about Gerrit Tiemersma? Yes, yes.
Yeah, you got it.
What is it about Gerrit Tiemersma that you will do for a sponsor?
Well, I'll do about almost anything, but you know what? I'd suggest I have an extremely professional presence in the pits, but I also have super high ambitions. I really do hopefully want to one day run a profitable Pinty's team, but I don't want to rush it. I want to make sure I do it right with the proper people, because to run a successful business, you need good people that want to, with a goal and ambition that is similar to yours. And I don't want to rush it. I've got a good thing going in the Qwick series, and I want to make sure I can keep that going. And I want to use that to maybe draw some network, to build out a network and look for that one guy that might help me out one day. But right now it's just about maintaining this kind of good thing that I have going right now, and coming back next year and making sure it's not just a one-off year. Like, make sure it's a sustainable, repeatable process that I can keep going, and hopefully find a championship in that series before I really look to move on.
Who is the name in the Superstock series? Because you mentioned you got a lot of friends, but there's obviously a lot of competitors that will help you out as well. Who are the names? We talked about some of the veterans that are in this series, but who's somebody that you lean towards?
For what? For advice?
Yeah.
You know what? We honestly do a lot of our stuff in-house. I mean, we ask around for some advice. I like to joke around with different drivers on Discord. Obviously, the main competitors in the series discuss what we do for adjustments here and there. But to be honest, with how close the competition is, there's not a lot of information sharing.
Awesome.
And it's really hard to actually find accurate information on what people do, because there's so many secrets. And we all think they're secrets, but we're all doing the same stuff, right? It's just about whether you do it this way or that way, right? We all do the same stuff.
That's the beauty of these, like the gritty racing series, where you do have the ability to be creative and find ways to go fast, where it's not scrutinized and your car is not pulled apart to death by like I'm referring to like cup level inspections and things like that, Hawkeye systems and stuff like that. But
there's a little bit of gray areas to play.
Yeah, exactly. You have a bigger box to work in, and that's kind of the stuff that made us all fall in love with racing, is the ingenuity and the creativity that teams are able to have.
You know what? And I got to agree with you, because some of the little parts that we've kind of engineered and designed over the last couple of years, I know have made an extremely big difference in our car being better, maybe going into the corner than other cars. And I can feel the difference in the parts that we've designed, because when we change them, all of it goes away. And when you get to feel that difference in the parts that you designed and that you've put on your car, it's such a good feeling, because this is only something that I have, because we designed
That's gratifying
it for
as hell.
our car, and it worked. It's good to see your work come through. And that's another great thing about the Superstock series. Like, there are so many different ways to achieve realistically the same thing, which is a race winning car.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, everything that all translates. People, like you said, maybe some guys are doing the same thing thereabouts, but like, everybody's got their own toolbox and bag of tricks, and you're all still that close at the end of the season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the 36 car definitely had a little bit of an advantage on everybody, but I mean, my car was a piece of junk by the end of the year. I'm coming back with some whole new concepts and ideas and throwing the kitchen sink at it. But I think we can still show some speed to that 36 next year, hopefully. But I mean, they're an all Ford outfit, and then you have like Carson Nagy, who's an all Chevrolet Camaro outlet, and then you've got a couple other guys like the Lapsevich car that want to race at Delaware. It's a 3-link metric car, so there's three completely different concepts, completely different suspensions, and all three of them have won races and have run just as quick as me, if not quicker, and given me headaches on the way home. You know.
Well, we don't want to go too long, Gerrit, because you've had a long day.
Yeah.
But we want to thank you for coming on the show. But we try to give opportunities to the drivers to thank their sponsors for getting them to the racetrack. So luckily for you, there's a cheat sheet because we've got a amazing Thompson Photography photo on the screen for you. And I want to thank them for having such quality photos and amazing photos. Definitely, if you're a race team, look these guys up, get them to do your photos for you because they're so friggin' good. So
I'm having Dale do my
as
photos.
clean as I'm going to say it.
Yeah, I'm having him do my photos next year. That's for sure.
All right. So your sponsors for this year that helped you get to the racetrack.
All right. First of all, John Way out of Wayfrey. He's been my primary sponsor since the beginning, and I'm glad we got some wins for him at Flamborough. And secondly, Eric from Linex Newmarket. He was a new sponsor for me.
Awesome.
Simon and Sons Windows and Doors. They were a new sponsor as well. First Choice Roofing. It's where I work as well. We do great work. Check out anything on my page. Bork Transmission, Speedy Auto Machine, and of course, Kill Thompson Photography. I love his photos. They make me look great, and I love using them.
Absolutely perfect. And we just want to show a quick thank you out to Kevin DeLong for this shirt. Thank you so much. And the boys at Qwick for some placement product that we got to show off. Gerrit Tiemersma, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Guys, make sure you check him out on social media. And also go to a Superstock Series race next year. You will not be disappointed. We hope to see them pairing up with the Pinty Series again, because that was a great combination.
Yeah,
so
great ticket bill.
Thank you so much, Gerrit, for coming on board with us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.